A good teacher should always have his props, and the Bible is the best one. Praise be Jesus Christ.
Now and forever.
It is really good that we are here. You know, that's not something that we often say at funerals, but this is a really good moment. Faith, family, and friends, semper fidelis, always faithful. Faithful to our God, we celebrate the God who gave to us a man of faith that allows us to gather today and not be like those that the Book of Wisdom told us about. We heard what they had to say: in the eyes of the foolish, they seem to have died, and their departure was thought to be a disaster. That's the way of our modern world. This is a world of not a lot of faith. YOLO is the way of living in the world, not faith, family, and friends, but you only live once. So suck everything you can out of life, because it's all about you. Not here. This is no disaster. No one could have, Pat, as you said last night, there is no way you could script a better departure. I wish he'd given you a little bit more warning, Bev. Yeah, but this was just a beautiful walk into the hands of the Lord. And he is with our God before him, yes, knowing his sins. None of us are perfect when we stand before the Lord, but knowing that we're praying for him and knowing the loving face of Jesus that he has served all his life. This is what John's reality is, and this is good for us to be together, to be with God, to be people who do not see life as a disaster waiting to happen, but rather have people whose hope is full of immortality. This is a marvelous line that is proclaimed, and it hit me. Well, whenever I prepare homilies for funerals, I always ask the deceased to give me the right lines and the right words. They will govern nations and rule over peoples, and the Lord will reign over them forever. What? Govern nations? What's this about? Did John govern a nation? You better believe it. Well, I'm not just talking about his family, but here was the word that John gave to me as I was thinking. Coach. Coach. It's a strange word. It's actually, as I look around into its origins, it's a Hungarian word of all things, because it's named, that's where the town that a coach came from. Because a coach is something that you sit in and get carried around on your trips. And it was the word that they used at a university called Oxford to sort of tease people who couldn't make their way through schools themselves. They had to have a coach, someone to help them get through school, someone to carry them. That's a pretty good word for what this man did. He ruled nations. A whole, not just one, not just two, but many generations of young men, primarily, but also young women, passed through his mind, his heart, his hands, and he ruled them, he ordered them, he gave them a gift of how do you live in this world so that you can be excellent, that you can live for greatness, that you don't get compromised by that weirdest of Canadian things that sticks in the craw of every American. We are so ineluctably mediocre. Canadians are like walking whack-a-mole people. Your head's a little bit too high, whack, down you go. We love winners just as long as they don't get too uppity. Mediocrity seems to be our way. Not if you grow up in San Francisco with those tough Irish and Italian neighbors. Not if you have to struggle as you see your brothers who are your own age die in horrible ways in war. Not if you take that energy and become a man who plays ball and sports, putting yourself on the line out there, risking and knowing that unlike most people, a good coach is not someone who's afraid to lose. And that's why most coaches are stinko, right? Because a good coach wants to win. Good coach wants to win. Most people are afraid of losing. But a good coach carries people along on the way that they are going to win. And don't think that we are meeting someone here who was in any way, this memory, of any way of mediocrity. Because this man, is a follower of Jesus who created us for excellence. Now, how do you do this coaching? How did John carry people when they didn't quite understand that call to excellence? The reason why I got the Bible is because the passage before this wonderful letter of St. Paul to Timothy, when he says, I've fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith, there's only reserved for me the crown of righteousness. But just before that, St. Paul says exactly what that fight was, what that faith was, what that race was. He says, for the time is coming when people will not put, here it is, in the presence of God and of Christ Jesus, who is to judge the living and the dead, I solemnly urge you, proclaim the message. Be persistent, whether the time is favorable or unfavorable. There is the courage of John. I remember when the mayor of Saskatoon, great guy, perfect expression of Canadian mediocrity. That's not a political, he's really a fine man. And he came and sat with us. And John got up and talked to him. And the room filled with people, many of them were here right now, got quiet. Because a man who is a real authority speaks not just that other people's ears will be tickled, but will speak with authority. Got up and said, why can I not walk the streets of this city without fear? Why is it dangerous here? There's a call. Speaking with authority, proclaiming the message in season and out. We live in a time when everyone says, gee, what is that person going to think if I talk about this topic in that way? Are they going to be angry with me? Will I get canceled? All our young people are scared out of their wits. They don't know how to talk. And we older people have let them down because we're afraid of offending and being shut out. A good coach knows he's got a job, she's got a job. And that's to carry people somewhere towards excellence in good season, in season, and in out. Be persistent. Now here is a perfect description of how you do that. Convince. Rebuke. I think he rebuked you because he loved you. He didn't need to be loved by you. He loved you, so he didn't need to be liked by you. That's a man who lives for excellence and faith for others, not for YOLO. Encourage with the utmost patience in teaching. There it is. There's the race. There's the way of faith. There's the good fight. Utmost patience. Not just saying the things so that you feel good at the moment. Oh, John wasn't perfect at that. That's why he came here. God knew John wasn't perfect at that. That's why he gave him Bev. This is our job. Nomen est omen, an old Latin saying. Your name tells you about who you're going to be. It's an omen for your life, what your nomen, your name is. Ford. What does that name mean? We've heard it so often, and no, it's got nothing to do with a car. It comes from the Latin word for portus, a safe harbor. That's what happens. That's what a coach is. That's what a parent is. That's what a man of faith is. That's what a Christian is. In a crazy world, and our world is nothing compared to being a teenager shoveling mortar rounds. In the midst of all of that, to be a safe harbor. That's who God is. And John is saying, as every good coach, here's the winning. The prize is God, who created us to be with him forever. The way is Jesus, who's dying on the cross carries us, the perfect coach, so that the day on which, the evening on which John died, might be our reality. John died on the evening of the Sacred Heart of Jesus and of the morning of the Immaculate Heart of the Blessed Virgin Mary. This is the safe harbor. This is the place where John's heart was attuned so that he could be husband, father, brother, friend, teacher, coach, faithful witness. His name was Ford. His name is John, saint made by God. Brothers and sisters, now it's to us to bring people into the safe harbor that is God, with the utmost patience to fight the good fight of patience, of love, of convincing, of rebuking, of encouraging. Now it's up for us to go and rule nations with our love.